Hi everybody, I'm McClunan and I'm bringing you an astrology update for the next full moon, which is happening in the sign of Libra on the 12th or 13th of April. As you can see, I am outside. We are in this beautiful place called what's outside Ikopo, which is in KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa where I live, and it's just natural beauty at its best. So if you hear sounds, you can hear the sounds of the beetles, you can hear the sounds of some people that work here. It's all about communication, and that's what the essence of this full moon really is for me. Libra is an air sign, which is a communication sign. All the air signs are focused on communication. Libra is focused on relationship. That's what its focus is. It's the sign of the scales, which means that it's connected with peace, with balance, with harmony. It wants peace, balance, harmony, beauty, aesthetic appeal. It wants communication. It wants feedback. It's the sign of the mirror. And so it's very connected with relationships. The ruler of Libra is Venus. Venus is the planet of love. Venus is the planet of relationship. Venus is also the planet of creativity, of beauty, of art, of the natural world. It's very connected with the natural world. So we always look at the ruler of the full moon. The sun in this full moon, always opposite the moon, is in a very, very close alignment to Chiron, the wounded healer, and that can bring out our sort of trigger. It's a trigger warning. It's those triggers that we may not have healed yet, and this is definitely a full moon where we can look at those triggers. Those triggers might be brought to us via relationship, but for healing. So whatever's coming up for you at this moment, it doesn't mean only intimate relationships. Relationships with friends, relationships with close, significant other people might be trigger points in terms of you getting a clearer picture of who you really are. So when we get triggered by the mirror, that's what relationships do, it's just to look. Instead of reacting, it's to step back and just to see which part of you is hurting, which part of you is triggered, and how you can actually bring yourself back into balance. That's what this full moon is. How do we bring ourselves back into balance? So I'm sitting here in this beautiful natural environment. Definitely that's one of the ways that we bring ourselves back into balance, because nature is balance. So when we are in relationship with nature, we're listening, we're watching, we're connecting on a level that we might not even be conscious of. So really this relationship thing is in such a highlighted position this full moon. What is our relationship like with ourselves is one of the questions. What is the relationship like with our significant others? What is our relationship like with nature, with our bodies, with the food that we eat, with the higher dimensions of consciousness, with our spiritual connection? And the reason I'm saying that is Venus, which is the ruler, is actually in a very close connection, this full moon, with Saturn. It's also connected with Mercury, which has just come out of its retrograde cycle, and it's also connected with the north node of the moon. The north node of the moon is the destiny node. So when those three are all connected, it's a really significant possibility for a turning point, for an energy clearing, for looking at the patterns that we would normally just react off, and to step back, to step out of it, and to actually find the truth within us in the moment, our higher truth, if you like. This is really a soul calling, this full moon. We still have a lot of energy in Pisces, and the Venus is stationary on the day of the full moon. So that means that she's coming out of her retrograde cycle and she's coming forward again. But on the day of the full moon, she is stationary. It's called stationary. She's not actually stationary, but from our perspective, it appears that Venus is stationary. Venus being stationary puts the emphasis on Venus on its own. Being the ruler of the full moon, even more so. Being in a connection with these other planets, even more so. So you can see that there's much more than just the sun and the moon on any full moon or any new moon. But full moons are always times of culmination, of release. And this one is a kind of a turning point, a clearing energy where we can actually step back into our soul's wisdom and really listen to what our soul is saying. Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac, and we've had a lot of movements of planets and are still experiencing them from the sign of Pisces moving out into the sign of Aries. So over the last few weeks, we've had Neptune moving over from Pisces into Aries. We now have Venus, which is now turned direct and will now shortly be moving into Aries as well. Mercury will shortly be moving into Aries. You can see that that's the beginning of some kind of new cycle, because Pisces is the old cycle. The zodiac starts with Aries and ends with Pisces. So when something moves into Aries, it's starting a new cycle. So we're starting a new cycle in terms of Venus, which is our relationships, which is our connection to nature, connection to our creativity, our connection to the relationship that we have with everything, as well as with our significant others. In Pisces, definitely the relationship that we have with our connection to our soul, to spirit, to the higher dimension of our consciousness. Mercury, which is also just finishing its cycle in Pisces, has been softening our ego mind while it's actually been moving through Pisces, so that we can actually move into a new communication cycle when it moves into Aries. Neptune is very much the soul planet. So Neptune moving into Aries is a new way of connecting with our soul, with our spirituality. So this full moon is really a time where we might feel that we want to kind of disconnect a little bit from other people. Some of us might feel that we want to hermit and just be present for ourselves and not sort of be engaging too much with the outside world. That's perfectly fine and very normal for this full moon, even though the energy of Aries is very up this full moon. There's a lot else that is still pulling us within. So it's like we're pulling within so that we can actually prepare ourselves for this new cycle that's coming. And none of us really know what that's going to mean, but this is very much a clearing time. This is to clear those patterns. So when we're triggered, which might happen with Chiron in the mix, it's to go inside before we react from the ego. Saturn, which is sitting right next to Venus, is saying, how can we connect in a more conscious way, particularly in terms of our relationships, in terms of our reactions, in terms of our possibly knee-jerk reactions that we might have to other people. So someone says something or posts something or sends you a message, and you have that initial kind of feeling of being hurt or triggered or betrayed or rejected. It's to just step back into the center of the scale. So you've got a scale, left and right, up and down, good and bad, past and future. If you step into the center of the scale, that is where your true wisdom resides. And from that place, we can then respond instead of react. And the more we do that, the more we are reprogramming and realigning our relationships. We're bringing wisdom into our relationships instead of just doing the same old thing over and over again. And this is very much, I've mentioned this many times, as have many other people. This is a time of a great turning point, but it's a real turning point for us to step into mastery of ourselves, as opposed to being at the whim of the mind, of our past conditioning. It's to actually take full responsibility, which is Saturn next to Venus, for our own connection, our own value. It is about stepping into our power, but not in an ego way. So it's stepping into our own power in the recognition that we are connected to everything else, but that we have a choice in each moment of how we're actually going to respond to what life is presenting us. Do we respond in an angry way, which is what's happening all over the world in many, many different areas of the world? If you just have to look, and you'll see that the old dispensation is to go to war and to fight against the other. So obviously that doesn't work. All of us know that. If you're watching this channel, I'm pretty sure you know that. It doesn't help to go to war, ever. It just doesn't work. It doesn't serve anybody. So as the outside world seems to be getting busier and busier and going further and further in that direction, it's for each of us to take full responsibility for where we are and to bring ourselves into that center point of peace as many times as we need to during the day, knowing that we are in relationship with everything else. So if we are bringing ourselves into presence, we are bringing ourselves into a peaceful state, that ripples out into the universe. And that is us being the change that we want to see in the world. And I feel that that's really the main message of this full moon and of this time, not just the full moon. It feels like things, if we're able to actually just withdraw a little bit, take time out of social media, for example, where we are being bombarded by other people's opinions, other people's takes on things. Even this, me speaking to you, it's my opinion. It's take it or leave it. But the reality is that we are so connected to these devices of ours that we sometimes lose touch with our own wisdom. And so I'm going to just say, over this period, not just the full moon, but really over this period, take time to switch off. Take time to walk in nature, sit in nature. Connect with the sounds, connect with the smells, connect with the textures, connect with the earth beneath your feet. That will ground us. It also helps us with all the electromagnetic waves that are drifting around all the time. Take time out, if you can, to connect with your creativity, whatever that is. It could be cooking a beautiful meal, could be playing an instrument, it could be painting, singing, dancing. Take time to do that, because that reconnects us and it brings us back into that middle place, which is the place where we transform and transmute and release old patterns so that we can actually be the change that we want to see in the world. So we're all part of this. It's all about communication. It's all about us seeing where our patterns are and taking ownership of our own emotional reactions and seeing if we can do it in a different way. And noticing where we might take our relationships for granted and how, asking ourselves how we can be more loving, how we can be more giving, how we can be more cooperative, compassionate to people around us, because everybody's dealing with something right now, even though they might appear to have all their ducks in a nice, neat little row. It feels to me that with the energies right now, feels a little bit like one of those pictures that they used to make. I don't know if you ever remember, they used to have them in magazines. And it was a picture where you'd look at it and it would make no sense. It would just be a sort of a mush-mash of colors and textures and shapes. And then as you continue to look at it and continue to look at it with presence, eventually something comes into focus. And it feels to me that that's the energy of this. It's about changing our perspective, bringing ourselves into now and listening and looking and allowing something deeper to emerge, allowing our soul's wisdom to emerge, allowing some new vision for our lives, which is the Aries energy, to emerge from the seeming chaos. Chaos is often the starting point, and this is about us seeing or feeling into what the seeming chaos might be showing us and might be bringing into our awareness. Saturn, in this sort of alignment, is really saying, we have the ability right now and over the next few months to really give sort of structure to our visions. But obviously we've got to connect with what is really important for us so that we can actually move into that direction. So I hope this has helped you a little bit to see and to feel what is going on. Enjoy this full moon. It's going to be a beautiful one. There's some really beautiful alignments with this that are helping us to heal, helping us to step into our own true, authentic power. Can we be truly authentic? Not what somebody else wants us to be. Saying what feels right for us and connected and aligned. Not just whatever comes out of our mouth, but what feels right. And speak from that point, communicate from that point, instead of just blabbing out whatever comes into our minds at any one time. So again, bringing ourselves into the middle of the scale. So I hope that's helped. If you would like to book a reading, you can do so. I might not reply immediately because we are running a retreat here, and I have got a little bit of a waiting list. But send me an email, we can make a plan. And then just check out our Hogsback retreat, which is happening in May, and it's going to be beautiful. That is a time to reboot and reset. And it's going to be a deep dive into our soul's wisdom. The more time we spend connecting with that wise, knowing part of ourselves, the more we shift, the more we transform, the more we connect with who we truly are. So a deep dive for 4 days is the way to do it. So if you'd like to join us, please do. It's a magnificent place, and we just love going there. It's quite far from where we live, but it's worth the drive. It's in the mountains. It has a very special energy, all of its own, which actually helps the process, as does this place, the Buddhist Retreat Center in Ikopo. We still do have a few more places left, so if you feel like getting in your car or getting on an airplane and coming here for a few days, you can do so, and the details for that are below as well. Thank you so much for listening. Take care of yourselves. Remember to breathe. Remember to bring yourself back into the center, into the heart space. We're dropping out of the head into the heart. Thanks, everybody. Much love.